All right, we're recordedly live. That's right. That's the term I came up with.
It's close enough, isn't it?
It is. It is. Recordedly live.
Recordedly live.
All right. So,
Yep, I'm
um,
I'm I'm following your lead today.
I don't. I'm not a good leader. I'm a co-angler. I just sit in the back and piddle.
You better start
How
pedaling.
it's how I roll. It's how I
Pedal.
roll. Um. Okay. First of all,
Mm-hmm.
after doing a lot of thinking about it over the last week, I think we've come up with a good summary, or I think I've come up with a good summary from us talking.
Mm-hmm.
All about the whole buzzarding. Is that a word? Buzzarding?
Boy, you went there again already.
Well, no. Just listen. I
Okay.
think to sum it all up, it's not against the rules. People
Correct.
can do it.
Correct.
It's just a douche move, and
Yeah.
you can get blackballed in the social aspect of whatever league or uh, fishing circle that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound like a good summary of the whole thing? I mean,
Just
you've
the
never done it. I've never done it.
just I you know,
It's
I
just
I wish I knew where a hold a buzzard was
me too.
half the time.
There's that one brush pile
I
that we
I
caught
have
one fish off that one time.
I have buzzarded a hole or two, but never fished or like caught anything out of them. So no, I
Well,
mean I think that's fair. I think just leaving it as it's a douchebag move.
yeah, I think that's a good summary, though. I mean, kind of
Yeah.
covers all the aspects. All right, forward facing sonar.
Well, okay, hold up.
Uh,
I I know that you said, and that was the teaser that we left off. However, I do think that the other topic you were talking about kind of ties in a kind of a little bit of a way with the whole buzzard um whole poaching
okay,
moral dilemma,
all right,
because unwritten rule, right? We established that no rule about it. Douchebag move. But more than just a douchebagger move, I think it's like there comes a point when we have to establish what our moral compass is, you know, as far as like what are we willing to do, rules or not.
right.
And so, like I'm saying, and I know that you kind of had a hard take last week, but I know deep down that you probably wouldn't be that hard of like there's no win at all costs kind of thing. I was just giving you a hard time about that. But there is a point where your moral compass has to kick in if there's no written rule for it, right?
Right.
Just based off of what's right and what's wrong. And there's always going to be limits to it. But I think because you were talking about possibly touching on the whole Scott Martin and Matt
Matt
Herren.
Herren.
Matt Herren's a little bit different, but at least with the Scott Martin, from everything that it looks like, that to me is a moral compass move on his part. I don't know all the details, but I mean, we're literally 24 hours from it happening right now at time of recording, roughly somewhere in there, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I
somewhere
think so.
around in there.
Yeah. So with the information that I know, the limited information I know from what I've seen, from what he posted himself, his video, and from what I heard, it sounds like he self-reported himself. You
Correct.
know, it's a little redundant. Self-reported yourself, but that was that was a moral code for him. He felt like he needed to go and at least put it out there that this had happened.
I think it's both.
Both what?
It's both. Yes, it's a moral compass thing, but also if he does not self-report it, he's breaking a written rule.
Yeah, the second he doesn't report it,
Yes.
well, I mean, he's
So
already.
see, it's actually both.
Oh, I wasn't saying it's an
Yeah,
unwritten rule at all. I was just saying it kind of falls under like a morality because he hadn't. It's a see, and that's where unfortunately even written rules can have gray areas, and that's the reason I bring
100%.
it up because this is one of those grayish area written rules. If everything from what I have read and what has come out so far ends up being the full truth, he didn't actively seek out information.
Correct.
He just maybe didn't remove himself from a setting where where people were talking, I, to me, honestly, I think it's a little bit of a stretch to completely disqualify him for this. However, I do kind of applaud Bass for finally taking a stand on some of these things. What I mean, it just really sucks that at least with Matt Herren, especially somebody who, to all of my knowledge, has been like one of the legitimately stand up good dudes. You
100%.
know, Lowell, you know, apparently
I've
he's a
never
bit
heard anybody say anything bad about him, except
right.
for people that really like Forward Facing Sonar didn't like what he had to say about that. That's it. I've never heard a
Highly,
bad thing
yeah,
about him.
highly opinionated and didn't have a problem letting people know. But at the same time, and even with his situation, I don't think he necessarily actively sought out information. You know, it just it just sucks. But at the same time, I do applaud because I mean, honestly, we've been bitching over the last couple years that hey, the, a smack on the wrist, if anything, a slap on the wrist. Some of these people are doing some of this stuff, and they either turn a blind eye or they do nothing about it.
Yeah.
So
It's always
if you
there has to be consequences, or there's no need even having written rules.
and that's why I think it's a good thing that there are written
Yeah.
rules now. But I kind of feel like with the Scott Martin, it kind of tied into the like, yes, it was a written rule, but at the same time, because he wasn't polygraphed or anything. He just
Yeah.
voluntarily offered up what happened.
Now, I think I have less knowledge than you do because I haven't even watched his I know he uploaded a video. I haven't watched it yet.
Well, he claims that he basically took his boat into the shop to have work done prior to the season, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, somewhere in there. And he claims that while he was in there, it was quote unquote shop talk, you know, about the lake. And they were actually talking about like some of the other guys, not according to him, he was not actively participating in the conversation. However, there was conversations that he was overhearing about water clarity in certain areas of the lake
Right.
that fell within the time frame of no information rule. You know, it's kind of like I've heard multiple people say we're never at the at the level where we have to worry about it, but you pull up to get gas first thing early in the morning at a lake somewhere, and there's a local guy filling up beside you, and he's like, "Oh man, you ought to be heading out to such and such place," like you're supposed to like shut them down immediately. Be like, "Whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa! I appreciate you trying to help me out, but I can't." That is what Scott is saying he didn't do.
All
Is
right.
the fact that he didn't actively seek it out, but once the conversations, once he overheard them, he didn't A, remove himself from it, or B, didn't try to shut it down. So,
All right. I have nothing bad to say about Scott Martin himself. That being said, I have a hear me out.
here, yeah, go for it.
All right. I watched basically the entirety of the Elite Series on the St. Johns River. Uh,
Hmm.
in and out. I did watch every day's weigh in. All right.
Hmm.
On Scott Martin's final day at St. John's at the weigh in line, he confessed on stage to receiving information.
Yeah,
That's not self-reporting. He said while he was on stage, he said, "Oh, I've been hearing about tons of 10-pounders and what the water's like and everything." He said that on stage to Mercer.
Mm-hmm.
Had he not have put that out there, because I guarantee you somebody came to him. And this is conspiracy part. The other part's fact. This is my conspiracy. I think somebody came to him and asked him about it, and then he self-reported. That somebody could be his dad, his wife, his daughter.
Oh,
It could have been
I mean,
somebody in Bassmaster. I don't know.
far be it from me to speak ill of the great Roland Martin, because I mean, but I do know that there are quite a bit of rules that have been instituted and changed due to that dude, because he was a I'm gonna push it to the
Right,
grave.
right.
And honestly, there's a whole lot of talk that Scott has done the same exact thing. I mean,
Yeah,
it wasn't against the rules, but I mean, he was one of the ones using the saltwater uh transducer
yeah,
for the past couple years. So he'd have that shooting out however 300. I don't know
yeah,
how
yeah,
far those things go. They go crazy. And then he would, as he got closer, he would switch it over to, his
yeah.
freshwater one that we can all use. But, even then, wasn't against the rules, but
That's
it,
right.
it is a little,
But
you know.
he wasn't the only one using those. That's what they had to make
Mhm.
that rule this year because everybody was starting to move toward that.
Yeah.
But it just makes me wonder: would he have self-reported had he not have
I say
accidentally
no.
messed up on Bass Live?
I said
Because
I don't think so. I hadn't really. I mean, I remember watching him make the same comments
I
while on
actually thought
stage.
about it live
I
while I was watching the weigh-in live. I'm like, dude just admitted to receiving information.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way, but I mean, I saw him on stage, I saw him say it, and that does make sense. That
Yeah.
if there were rumblings from other people that, hey, you know, which if that's
And
the
it could
case,
probably be other
that
people that
kind of
got
makes
caught.
his. The problem is that kind of makes his apology video very disingenuous. And because even in it, like you were saying, you didn't watch it, well, in it he talks a lot about integrity and how he was doing it for the integrity of the sport, essentially, by where, if it was him, which my question would be, and I have thought about this, I was like, why'd you wait till the day before? If this happened 3 or 4 weeks ago, why didn't you go to, I guess Lisa Talmadge or Chase, I don't know who is the rules committee or
Right.
whatever, Chris Bowes, I guess. Why didn't you go to them 3 weeks ago and say this happened? I just want to get in front of it if it
Yeah.
really is. So I'd already had that.
Yeah.
But so that to me is what I was meaning by your moral compass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And it questions. None of us know, you know?
nah.
I
Oh,
mean,
no. What are you talking about? That Slick Johnson. I'm sure he knows, because
well, I'm sure.
he knows it all.
But you know, none of us common folk know. But
No.
I mean, to me, that the first
Nobody
thing I thought of when I saw that,
nobody's sitting in an unfinished basement. We don't know.
I'm in the baby's room. The I
Oh,
had yeah, I had to give the
okay.
diapers and all for the grandkid to my wife out of the room so they wouldn't bother me. Um, but yeah, the first thing I thought was when I saw
Professionals.
yeah, when I
Profession.
saw him was he just admitted to receiving information. And then there's that few days time period. And I'm like, if you were going to self-report, I think you'd have done it before the last possible second, you know?
That
And
I
so
hadn't thought about what he said
the
on
first
stage, but I
the
had thought
first
about
thing I
that.
thought about is, I mean, I don't think he's had trouble, in bass. I don't think he's caused trouble, broken rules too much in the past and stuff like that. So did somebody from Bass say, hey, look, if you don't self-report, I'm going to report, or, it'll look a lot better if you do it. I don't know.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. That scenario seems a lot more likely than him
And,
just all of a sudden like waking up yesterday morning with like this moral epiphany that I got to do what's right.
yeah,
I mean, like he knew when it was happening what was happening. He knew he was in the gray area, you
yeah.
know.
And
Which at that point, if you knew it was in the gray area at that point, the best thing you probably could have done is, and the, you or I walk over, even if we were, and I hate to say this, but I don't know. Let's take, one of the rookies from the Elite Series,
yeah,
Evan Kong, right? That kid. If he would have walked over to those dudes in the shop, I give it an 80% chance that they'd been like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we'll stop talking about it," or and they may have been like, "Okay, yeah, whatever," and they would have kept on with the conversation. It was Scott
I'd have
Martin.
reached out and said earmuffs.
Yeah, it was Scott Martin, basically in and around Okeechobee, where he's like
Where he knows
he's a,
them, they know him.
if he'd have walked over and probably knew every one of them by name and said, "Fellas, hey, can you nix the conversation until I'm out of here?" They would have done it. I would like to think. I mean, I can't imagine them not. Oh,
Yeah, you froze. There you go.
man, it was
Yeah,
so hard sitting like that.
I agree. And like I don't know a lot about the Matt Herren situation either, except for that he failed the polygraph on getting information.
It was
But
something from his brother.
I haven't looked into anything like
That
any of that.
I don't know 100% of the details with it, other than my guy basically just said he threw up just like a great big old fu to Bass and was like, "I'm out." And I do know that I heard today that there's like lawyers involved. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think he was. I don't think he's happy on how it went down, because I think it was a technicality for him as well.
Yeah.
I don't think he was intentionally trying to seek out. Let's call it what it is. Was he McKinney and Thompson last year when they were finishing, or the year before when they were finishing the opens, and having their basically parents who are bankrolling them? Yeah, that's right. I'm going out
Yeah.
there. The parents bankrolling them, buying them waypoints on Fork and these other lakes, Toledo Bend. No, he wasn't doing that. But what happened to them? Like, really?
Yeah.
The look what happened. Those are your two. What do you want to call them? The young guns. Your two guys that are the future, right? Did anything really happen to them for doing that? They changed the rule,
Yeah, they changed the rule.
because I guess technically, but yet the guy who's outspoken about the forward facing and different things, Matt Herren, that's the guy that you decide, oh yeah, well, talking to your brother, you got information, you're disqualified. That in
Yeah.
itself looks a little shady too, which
Well,
completely contradicts what I said earlier about at least they're doing something now.
yeah. Well, and that leads into a whole discussion on should that rule be changed?
The information.
Yeah.
Eh, Dude, I mean, that's one of those rules where how do you change it? How do you write it? What is the language that
Yeah.
you put it in to where it makes any sense
Can
to
can I
say,
put my 2 cents out there?
yeah, it's your show.
You cannot pay for information. You
Mhm.
cannot take guide trips. So all of this, but
What if it's a
if it's
unpaid? What if it's
if it
a guy's like volunteering his time to take you on a guide trip but doesn't charge you?
but you just call it a guide trip.
Okay,
Um,
what if it's a guy that
all
decides he
right.
wants to take you out
No,
fishing?
no fishing on the water there's a way to phrase it.
Yeah, I
There,
understand what you're
but
saying. Yeah.
yeah, I don't have the phrasing in there, but what I'm saying is no guide trips,
Mm-hmm.
no paying for information.
Mm-hmm.
But if you stop at a gas station and JoJo says, "Man, I was catching them up in Becky's Creek the other day," well, that's not you. Why is
JoJo
that?
and Becky.
Why is that against the rules? You you're not
I
soliciting
oh
information.
I
If you're
Yeah, I agree. I
I,
think it's you. I think
if you're
let's have
gonna be
common
this,
sense about it.
yeah, if you're gonna be this far in, and like the same thing with I'm not going to use Matt Herren example because that is a family member and it's maybe the two of them just sitting there talking or something. But let's take the Scott Martin. He's in a boat shop where people talk about boats and water and fishing. So, are you telling me that a fisherman has the ability to go into any of these shops, a tackle shop? Think about think about going into Bobcats. We went down there during the open.
Yeah.
You'd actually have to wear earplugs to go
Well,
in and pick up a pack of worms.
even worse than that, you remember? I mean, technically, even in our tournaments, we're not allowed to have to to get information either. But yet, I think it was Angler's Choice. I don't remember which one it was, but where I forgot my sunglasses. And when the sun got too bad, remember,
Yeah,
we popped up to that little marina somewhere up there,
yeah,
and I was like, let me just run in here and grab some sunglasses real quick. Well, I'm standing there waiting to check out, which technically I probably shouldn't even have done that, but I'm standing there waiting to check out, and I look up, and behind the cash register is a big, like, dry erase whiteboard that says what, like, largemouth, what they're biting, where they're biting, when they're biting. I mean, and it's like click, 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 catfish, click, click, click. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, well, it's kind of hard. You know, if it was a serious, bigger tournament or something, like that's
you can't go
impossible.
in
So what
there.
do? Turn around and leave?
Yeah, you cannot go in. And how do you know that it says something you shouldn't read until you've read it to see that it's something you shouldn't have read? I mean,
Whoa. And how do you know on that conspiracy thought, how do you know that the owner of that bait shop is not in the same tournament that we are in and he's just trying to throw us all off?
oh my God.
That's why we suck. Because
Yeah.
I'm pretty
But
sure I came out and I was like, they're biting the top water.
but yeah, but that's the thing. What I'm talking about is you watch like YouTube videos um for anybody from top of the top level down to fishing hour level, and they they're always saying, "Oh well, I caught them on this, I picked it up, or stopped by this tackle shop, blah blah blah. This tackle shop's really great." Well, they didn't go in that tackle shop and not come out with some form of information. There's even information if you go in there and you're looking at the Zoom worms and all of the green pumpkin with the blue flake are sold
Sold
out.
out.
Well, hello, that's information right there.
I,
I think their no information rule needs to be defined to paying it and not this public,
I
publicly
want to,
available information is
I
fine.
don't know if it happened, but here's what I would like to see. Our guy, John Cruz, right, is
Mhm.
ahead of whatever is it called, like the Anglers Committee or
Yeah,
something
it's an
on bass.
angle committee.
Okay. I don't know what they do. But in this particular case, kind of to solve the problems that we're talking about here, I don't see where it doesn't. I don't know if it's a nine-man. I don't remember what the committee, how many are on it or whatever.
Yeah,
But hopefully it's an odd number, so that basically Bass can get all the information, right? And
right.
unless it's just a clear cut, straight up easy, there was a freaking box, a crate at the bottom of the dock, where this dude was snagging them out of. Unless it's something clear cut like that, if it's in the case of a Scott Martin, you get all the information you can together, you present it to those 9, 7, 5. I don't know how many it is
Yeah.
that are on that committee. I know Milliken's on it.
I think it's either 5 or 6. I
I
can't
hope it's not
remember.
6. I would hope it's at least
Well,
5 or 7. But I know
yeah,
Cruz
but I
is
think
like the chairman.
they chose 2 veterans like John Cruz and is it Mark Menendez?
I truly
I
do
think
not know.
I think those are the 2 that have been there for like it's 15 plus
15.
years.
Yeah.
And then they chose 2 of the medium veterans and then 2 of the
Younger.
rookies from last year.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then that's a stupid idea to just go with an even number because you're going to end up with ties.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, or you could even say it has to be unanimous 6, 7, 5, however many you got. It
I
has
just
to be
think it should be common sense. Get them
Well,
all together, show them the details.
that's what I'm saying. There's how you solve it, Jay. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, you take that little group and you say, and you change that group every year. Like, you can't have
Yeah.
the same guys because you're going to constantly have favoritism towards their, you know what I mean? It's just like with John Cruz, if Iconelli is one of the ones that's brought in front of him, I
Yeah.
would like to think Cruz would like say, I hate to do this, but I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
But you don't, so constantly change it every year or every 2 years,
Or
whatever.
you could have a rotating.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then you bring it, you put the evidence you have, everything you got in front of them, and you say, all right, what do you guys think? Is this a disqualification? Is this a, sitting a timeout at blast off for an hour? A half an
Yeah.
hour, whatever it is. I would much prefer to be judged by my peers
Yeah.
rather than others. And don't get me wrong, I don't think there's any, I would like to think there's no upper management that's just out to get anybody. But I would still rather have 5, 6 or so, however many of my fellow anglers decide my fate because
Yeah.
whatever they come up with is what they come up with.
I mean, it's just like a jury trial. If I
Mhm.
get arrested for robbery, I'm not convicted until I sit in front of a jury and they judge me.
This is America, damn it.
Yeah. America.
All right, so
So,
we're gonna drop this one and head and actually talk about the
all right. But before we get to the hot button forward facing,
yeah.
I got to tell you, I was sitting here and the other day and I thought about strategy. Okay. And this is
The
going to
T.
lead into the forward facing thing about
Mhm.
how any of the different tournament trails, now that they've all kind of gone a different way with the forward facing,
Mhm.
each has a little bit different of a strategy that you play. I want a new
Mhm.
league. I want a new league. And I want it to combine a little bit of all of them. I want the screen size limitations that Bassmasters has. I want the 3 periods with 1 period of your choosing being forward facing, like MLF has. And I don't guess there's that much from NPFL except for the fact that you got 2 periods without forward facing. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
But here's the added strategy part. You can, at the end of the day, all right, the leader gets to choose first. He gets to choose on
Turning the heat up.
an interactive map a spot where on the next day a 200-yard radius around that spot on the map no one else can fish. He might not go fish there, but whoever's in first can choose that, and that whole day no one can fish in that spot. He can. He's the only one. And then the number 2 person gets to choose a spot.
I mean, that's interesting. That would be like fun for maybe a tournament here and there.
See, I think
You've got a real hang up on the whole
no,
playing
I don't. Because think
defense.
about it. Here you go.
No,
Think
that's what I'm
about it.
saying. Like that to me is a defensive strategy.
Well, why not legally bring some form of defense into?
Uh,
I mean, growing up, I mean, my favorite part of football was always defense. You
I mean,
know?
I think most people from the born
Yeah.
in the '70s that we all agree
So,
that that was the case. You know,
so
the
then,
running game and defense, but
all right.
not in fishing.
So then, if there is a spot that got picked, and you really want to fish that, and you didn't pick it, you can give up your forward-facing sonar for your period and be able to fish that spot for one period, but no forward-facing. I think I'm all about strategy.
Can we just go fish?
It'd be super cool. And I'm not talking about putting this in any of the leagues that exist. I'm talking
Yeah.
about a whole nother league. It's like the XFL. It's not as big as the other thing, but it's got these little different rules
Didn't the
that make
XFL
different
fail?
strategy. Hmm?
Didn't the XFL fail?
About 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
But still,
No.
I think it'd be awesome. I'd like one season just to have this
Yeah.
tournament trail with really good fishermen
But
that
see, I feel like
incorporate
I feel like I'm the
strategy.
exact opposite. I
Mm.
would like I'm kind of NPFL-ish. Take it off,
Well,
which we're jumping the gun here.
all right.
But like you're saying you want more strategy in the game, and honestly, I'm the exact opposite.
Well,
And maybe I don't want to have to use the brain if I
but
don't have to. I just want to launch and go not catch fish
all right. You're
because
not
that's what
fishing.
I'm good at.
Look, you're not fishing in any of these major leagues anyway. So you're not going to be fishing in this one. I'm not going to be fishing in any of them.
Well, that
But
was real nice of you.
well, no. What I'm saying is, for me at home watching a tournament, I would love to be able to watch this added dimension to it.
Okay.
You know, I'm not talking
You
about.
didn't.
I don't think I necessarily want to fish it, but
Okay, yeah, you should have led with that because I
yeah.
agree with you. Last week when we left off, we counted to 3,
Mm.
and we were going to say which league we thought actually got it right. So are we going to start with that right now? 30 minutes into this.
All right.
So are we going to do the countdown again and then say it?
No. You want to?
We agreed, didn't we?
We did. Now we're only talking about the highest level. So like the
Correct.
elite.
Oh yeah.
Bass Pro Tour, MPFL.
NPFL. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And I think we both agree that for the very reason what you were just talking about, we like the Major League Fishing
The Bass
format
Pro Tour.
the best. Yeah, the BPT. The idea, and because it does it gives you a little bit of strategy to watch, to see who's gaming the system a little bit. And one thing that's been surprising out of the couple so far is that I'll be honest with you, I truly expected to see more of like more of the field you would see clearly could not catch them in any other way than without scope, right?
Right.
It really hasn't been that bad. There's been times where it's been obvious, but for the most part, but they've also been in Florida where
Yes.
you know what I mean, like
And there was a
we'll
definite.
really get to see that when they go to other places where they're going to be like relying on the scoping.
Yes.
And those 2 other periods, they're not going to be able to go flip some mats and and do some shallow water fishing like you can in Florida. They're going to have to figure something else out.
Yeah. If you really looked at it now, the first one was Lake Conroe.
Yeah.
And And that one, if you look at it, the top 10, there was drop off when not using forward facing. Some was worse than others, but you what you said is 100% right. You know, you did see the drop off. There was a couple that dropped off a lot in the top 10, but not that many of them. But you get below the top 10 and you really did see it, how it affected it. Um, the last one in Florida, I mean, you didn't even really need forward facing for that one.
No, well, and also the last one in Florida. Well, no, not the last one in Florida, but the one before that. The problem I have is that what was the name of the creek they were all in
Caney Creek.
at Conroe? Is that
Yeah.
what it was? So you're right. I mean, it wasn't. There was definitely more of it, but I mean, at the same time, dude, they were all right on top of each other.
Yeah.
It
The
was it
only
was
one
kind
that
of ridiculous to watch.
was
You know?
Wheeler.
Huh, oh yeah. Well,
Wheeler wouldn't fish in Caney Creek.
honestly, I am going to have to take him and Connell out of the equations of, hey,
Yeah.
are we going to see if they can catch them this way or that way? I mean, at some point you just got to say, all
Yeah.
right,
I'm
those two cats are going to catch them blindfolded, freaking drop them off in the middle of the night and make them sleep on the bank somewhere, and then throw them in a boat and say, okay, no, we're not even going to tell you where we're at. Give them, like, make it like the most moderate temperature so they have no clue, and they're going to catch them. And I'm not trying to take anything away from any other angler on the BPT, but there's just a separation. There's a difference.
dude.
There,
I don't know about the final 2 days or one day or what 2 days, but the first 2 days, Wheeler didn't even turn his forward facing on
yeah,
in Florida.
no,
And I mean, he's just
yeah, yeah.
destroying
So,
them.
like, if people want to make the argument about some of the young kids, yeah, I believe that, I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of these kids that started over the past, 5 to 7 years since, active targeting has really taken off. Um, I don't know what your percentage is, but there's a good majority of those guys that know they don't. They know that's a bad thing to say. They know how to fit. They know how to flip. They know how to pitch. They know how to walk a top, like a spook or something. They know how to walk the dog. They know how to do this stuff. Do they know necessarily where to go to do that if they don't have, you know what I'm saying? Does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like
Well,
that's where I think the knowledge gap, that if you were to, and that's why the NPFL is going to separate it. And
yeah,
that's why I'm super excited next week to watch that, is because that is where you're going to see the separation. Like, anybody can learn how to throw a frog, you know, and
yeah,
to work a jerk bait and do all that. But the experience, the knowledge of when and where to do it, and how to find those fish when you can't see them, that's where the separation is going to be.
yeah. And what you're talking about, when and where or where. Right? And I'm not putting down this kid at all, because I mean, he's really good. He's proven that he can be there. But like Drew Gill
Oh,
railed them on his
dude.
forward facing period, right? And, and he had a cameraman with him. And then the next two periods he didn't have it. And he even looked back at the cameraman and said, I'm kind of learning how to do this. He's like, I'm not sure. And it he was one of the ones that there was a huge difference between forward facing. But if you look at his history, that's all he's ever done. Like, he didn't grow up fishing like normal. Like 99% of the people on any of these
I thought he was
professional
from like
sports.
I thought he was from like Georgia or somewhere. What?
No,
I don't know where he's from.
I'm 90% sure that this is who they were talking about, but he started fishing, and when he started fishing, he's only fished for like 4 or 5 years. He like just started, and he started with the forward facing and went through the whole gambit of, like, I think college, and then like 1 year on the invitationals, and he made it to
Really?
MLF.
I mean,
And
the only thing I mean, I know who he
when
is, and the only
when
thing I
when he learns that other techniques, that
Mhm.
dude, I think he's like might be the next coming of like a Jacob Wheeler.
I don't know if we're talking about the same. I don't I don't know that you got it mixed up because I know I just watched recently an episode with Luke Duncan where he was talking to Terry Scroggins,
I haven't watched that one yet.
the Big Show, and
Yeah.
he talks about Drew in there, and he says that he's one of his favorite young. He was like, I mean, he says point blank, he was like, he'll catch them in any way possible, wherever. So I don't know if maybe he's just learning. I don't know. I truly don't know anything about the kid at all, um, other than the fact that he's making a lot more money doing something that we love to do than we'll ever make, which
Yeah.
is extremely disappointing because what's sad is I like even sitting here talking about it. Makes me want to go out there and just, ping a minnow. No. What are you doing?
Hold
Am,
on.
am I bothering you?
Negative. Look,
Am-
he was he started he's the one that I watched the story. He started in the MLF college series
Did he?
in
Okay.
2021.
Dude, that's fat. That's meteoric rise.
Yes, dude. And
Yeah.
now, but he's always he and they were somebody was talking to him. I can't remember the interview I was watching with him, but he
Hmm.
was like, I just I wanted to fish. And it was, about the COVID years and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. And I guess, all he's done is forward facing, and the dude is a absolute hammer. And for him to be basically in or around the top 10 in every event this year, even with not being able to use the forward facing, and he has, he reminded me of us without forward facing. We're gonna we're gonna catch a couple fish, but
They're not the right ones.
no, he caught an 8 pounder without
Well,
forward facing, but it
then,
was, I mean, even he admitted it was pure luck. I was just out here throwing this thing that the other people are throwing, and I think I'm in the right place, but I'm not sure. Just kind of that little, hey,
hmm
every squirrel finds and every blind squirrel finds a nut every once in a while with
yeah.
that 8 pounder. But I mean, dude, when he learns these other techniques, that kid's gonna be way
That
scary.
I heard something today listening to the elite, coverage from Okeechobee. It, I always want to say Okanichi. It's so hard to say Okeechobee.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Um, but they were talking about because McKinney just was literally just cracking them this morning. I mean, just
Yeah,
laying waste to them. And um, I knew he had an absolute just stellar dominant year, but I think he finished 12th or something in AOI last year. Obviously, won Rookie of the Year. But he finished 12th and had an average finish of like 20 something throughout the entire thing. And because he got caught doing, I don't even remember what he did, but
he
he had like a 93rd mixed in the middle. So you even, dude, if you have 25, 30, tournaments and you have 193rd in there, well, you've got plenty others to where
Yeah.
your average can come back up. When you're dealing with 9, you know,
Yeah.
and one of them technically is the classic, so that doesn't, it's not really a points thing. So when you just got that short amount of that few of tournaments, and one of them you ended up with 93rd, but yet your average finish was 20th something, man, that you can't take it away from him. I wish I
Yeah.
could, because there's just something I don't know what it is. He just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know if I'm just being an old man. Get off my lawn, you young little whippersnapper out here just turned 20 years old this week. You know, living the life, enjoying your life. I mean, is it a bit of jealousy mixed in? Sure. But at the same time, there's just something about it that just I guess that's the thing about fishing is for so long you could respect people so much more because they had put so much time and effort and time on the water and that so much experience they had in it to get good. And now you just don't have to.
Yeah. I mean,
It, it,
you still do have to, but you're limited to learning basically one thing.
right. You spend one
Yeah.
you if you don't have any bills to pay and you don't have anything necessarily to do but to go out for 1 year straight and spend an average of 5 to 10 hours on a day, literally every day for
100%.
for a year,
Yeah.
you better be good at live scope or else what are you doing, man? You
Yeah.
know? So it's just not, so within a year you can get really, really good at that. And the next thing you know, you can be a dominant person in a sport that it used to take you decades to get enough knowledge to be good.
Right.
It's frustrating, but
All right.
hey,
So, MLF, the reason I say they got it right is I really did. I mean, I enjoyed watching it. I've never really enjoyed watching MLF. And this is only for the forward facing sonar. And I like their periods. That what I don't like off fish count. I
yeah,
me
all right.
personally, I don't like off fish count. If they did 5 fish with the format they have this year, hands down, I would watch every tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm at this point in my life, I am not a huge proponent of forward facing sonar. But I chose MLF even though I like NPFL better with doing away with it. And I haven't watched because the first tournament is not this coming weekend, but next weekend. They'll be at Sandy Cooper. Now, I'm going to watch it, but I I chose them because in today's environment, I like the 3 periods and them having one. I think Bassmaster just basically I
Shit the bed.
I don't know what they did. They
Shit the bed.
yeah, they you can have 55 inches of screen total, one transducer on your front deck. It can't be 18 inches off the front deck, 18-inch max, and on your steering column, it can only be 20. It can be 26 inches up from the steering column.
I do love that. I love that aspect.
Yeah, the
And that's just a
safety.
pure safety
Yeah, the safety aspect of
because you
that I
can't
like.
see over that crap that they were doing. Like that was ridiculous.
But the one transducer,
That's a joke. You give Trey McKinney, Patrick Walters, a freaking HDS Live 9 9-inch screen with active
yeah,
target 2, and they're going to catch just as many as they would if they had
and tear it
6.
up.
Yeah,
But
yeah, you did absolutely nothing. I mean, other than for the guys like Koya that had what 5 I
yeah,
think on his,
5.
which I'm not really sure. like at the beginning of last year, it looked like he gave him every advantage in the world, and he was going to win everything that was out there. But obviously, he came back to earth real hard,
Yeah.
and so I'm not really sure. I'm with you. I don't see where if you limited, if they'd have said you can still have 4 transducers, but you can only have, I don't even care about the width or the amount of screen inches. For me, the height part of it was the only thing they should have regulated just for safety.
Yeah.
I mean, because dude, we're out there flying around, and we're in the Militime Ranger, right?
Right.
and there's some little jackleg kid coming by at 75 miles an hour, and he's literally trying to
Yeah.
see over it as he's taking hits, and waves and on. He can't see. We're coming from one
You're
direction, and he's coming here. He can't see us.
been there, right?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
fucking dangerous.
It is. And you halfway
And
expect these little kids that are like stretchy to look over. You expect to look over in their boot and see wood blocks tied to the bottom of their shoes so they can hit the hot foot. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, never mind. Like, no one can see when you're getting up on plane. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
No, you can't see. Like, that's just what it is. It's your responsibility as a operator to make sure that you've got plenty of room to get up. However long you know your boat, you know how long it takes you to get up on plane.
You know
So
how long it takes your co-pilot to climb up to the front of the boat to hold it down when you take off.
to get off, I mean, look, when you've got over 25, 30 pounds of freaking fish in the live wells
I think that word doesn't mean what you think it means. I think what you meant to say was water in the
in the
live.
live well, when you have 25, 30 pounds of water in the live well,
All right. So
you know,
check it out. We both agree. I think we both agree on all of this that MLF got it right. MPFL is what we
we'll
like
see.
the best.
We'll see.
And well, as far as fishing,
If I was participating,
yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Bassmaster just kind of shit the bed, except we do like the safety aspect. All right.
Yeah.
So here's what I dug a little bit deeper because here's something I don't understand. All right. Bass Pro Tour, 3 periods.
Mm-hmm.
1 period of your choosing, you get to use forward facing sonar. Love it. Said that. All right. The invitationals, which the invitationals are what you're fishing to get into the tour. All right.
Mm-hmm.
They're not split into periods, but each tournament is a 3-day tournament. See the similarity there? 3 and 3. All right.
3. Yeah.
You get to use forward facing on day 1. You can't use it on day 2. And then you can use it again on day 3.
Wow.
Why? If and here's the deal. They have stressed that they were changing their rules to get a more rounded anglers coming up, the young guys. You can't just focus on forward facing. You need to learn all the aspects of fishing, like in the old days. You learn it all, including forward facing now. All right. So why would you not have? You have 3 days to fish. You can use forward facing on 1 day of your choosing. That would make it exactly like the 3 periods per day on Bass Pro Tour. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer to me, and I'd like that a lot better. But and I did look at the weights on their first one, and yeah, you'd see the guys on day 1 and 3 that had the big weights would have little on day 2. The guys that had big weight on day 2 had little on 1 or 3.
1 and 3.
All right.
Yeah.
And then you had a couple guys like the guy that won it, who I question if he even turned it on because he had high weights all 3 days.
Mm.
You know? But that doesn't make a lot of sense to me the way they set that up. So, all right. In the Toyota series, which is the one right below Invitational, they limit it to 2 transducers. Now, it's 2 transducers, and that also includes 360.
Side?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no. You can have
They're talking about
2.
trolling motor or bow mounted.
Yeah, you can have 2 forward facing. You one in perspective. Actually, you can put them wherever you want, but you can only have 2, or you can have 1 forward facing and 1 360. All right, it's like that in Toyota, in Phoenix, and in college. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So then in high school, it's not allowed at all. Their high school series, no forward facing, right?
I'm
So
100% on board with that.
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If you've come out and you've said we don't want our English to be forward facing dependent, but we want it to be part of our organization, why are you just fully allowing it in the 3 of the 4 learning phases? I mean, fully allowing it
I
in
mean,
3
would
of
you
the
like
4.
my opinion? My
It's
opinion is it has a whole lot to do with if you're watching it and you have an introduction, they're like, "Hey, you're watching the Bass Pro Tour, brought to you by Minn Kota, brought to you by Humminbird, brought to you by Lowrance, brought to you by Garmin." They're not going like, which was shocking that the NPFL did what it did. Yeah, did what it did. More so for me from a sponsorship standpoint, because I would love to know what their, like, if they'd pull back the curtains and show us what was your sponsorship income from your 3, Lowrance, Humminbird, Garmin,
yeah.
your 3 bigs, right? As far as electronics go, sonar at least, fish finders. What was it last year? Did you see any sort of decline? Like, did Garmin say, "Hey, you guys did this, so we're going to cut you back. We're not going to give you quite as much this year"? Same with Lowrance. Same. Like, I would love
I
to know.
think
They're never going to tell us.
I think Humminbird didn't pull back because that's the one thing that every boat is going to have is 360 because that's allowed.
Okay, maybe so.
Only live imaging is not allowed.
Okay,
So
and I'm good with that. I mean,
I know that because I was almost semi-professional.
almost
I read those rules hardcore.
reading the rules or money.
Oh no, I read the rules. I mean, I
It's
wanted
just,
to. I
it,
tried to get the money together, but I couldn't do it.
yeah. I don't know how. I truly don't know how any of the guys that are up there that aren't already perfect. Like, I don't understand
Yeah,
how you can, you know, you're living right if you've got. I mean, what your entry fees were? What was it going to be, like 40, 35,
I
40, somewhere in there?
I I, I did. I put a spreadsheet together, and for room and board, gas, and my entry fees, it was right at 45,000.
You weren't going to eat.
I said room and board, but I'm a cheap eater.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
if I'm traveling by myself, I literally, one day's food can be like $5, $10 at the max. If I'm by myself. When we go places, we gotta get some margaritas and senoritas. I mean, we look out, man. I mean, look out for Mexican restaurants when we go. But
Oh man.
if I'm by myself, I just eat a couple of cheap burgers that I buy and make myself. So
Dude, I we're right at the hour mark, and I've had a day. I am. Is there another word for extremely exhausted?
I got nothing.
Is I'm about to fall asleep sitting here talking to you. Is that how do we describe that? Any different than what I just said?
I don't think I can say that word over the air.
Hmm. Can you whisper? Oh. Well, yeah. I don't know.
Well,
I don't
just
have much else.
just to let everybody know, though, we had talked mad smack about what we were going to do at Kerr Lake this past weekend for our first tournament of the year. It got canceled. The lake was 10 foot high.
Pansies.
Yeah, yeah,
10 foot. I mean,
10 foot high
yeah.
wind,
You
the
know.
trees rolling down through the
So,
lake.
oh, hold on. Was it 310?
Huh?
What was the lake level? 310?
It was something like that.
Nah.
I,
It was
it was.
drawn. It was drawn down in the first place. It was probably 5 or 6 foot down, and then if it's up by 10, it's really only up by 5. We could have gone. Come on, man.
Nah, I think they said when they canceled it, it was 8.5 foot over full pool, and
It's
they
the
said they didn't think it had
debris was.
crested yet.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, you got those two rivers feeding it,
Yeah.
and trees and stumps and
Oh yeah, I
limbs.
looked at some pictures of it, like right there around
Yeah,
Clarksville. The big riprap that catches everything.
yeah.
Yeah, it
Oh,
looks like somebody just picked up a forest and threw it in the water.
yeah, I'm sure. Oh, there's not a chance on earth that I would have taken the Miller Time Ranger to the right out of Okanichi
Uh-uh.
and gone up towards the rivers that day. I
Mm-mm.
think actually that one was out of Ivy Hill, so it
That'd
wouldn't
have
have
been out
mattered
of Ivy
anyway.
Hill, and I'd have said, let's take a right out of Ivy Hill,
Yeah, I would have definitely been
away
taking a
from the
right.
rivers.
Yeah.
But we are fishing Smith Mountain Lake this weekend.
Yep. I'm excited.
So let's see.
I'm gonna dangle a minnow.
I called 17 for last week. I'm gonna call 20 and a half for this weekend.
20.
We're gonna
We're
put it
gonna.
on them this weekend. It's either gonna be 20 and a half or zero. You
It's going to
choose.
be. It's going to be interesting considering that it's basically been uh, Minnesota weather for the past month, and then for this past week, it's been Virginia. We've seen our 60s, so it's been a huge warming trend. It will not be Sunday morning when we take
No,
off. It's supposed to be, I think, 23 at
25. It went up 2 degrees.
7.
Yes,
Hey, that 2 degrees means a lot.
it does. Uh, Yeah,
We like
it's
we like to call that.
68 on Saturday and then high 45 on Sunday
It's going to be
during the tournament.
brisk.
A
Yeah,
little bit.
might be looking for a spot that is a short run from takeoff.
I already got.
Hopefully, it's 5 minutes.
We're gonna nail them.
All right. Well, let's do that. You wrap this up. I'm quite literally going to bed.
All right. Well, how about do you have a thought that we could think about for next week?
For this,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just messing with you. Well, yeah. Uh, Basically, we're going to talk about um, what it was like, how we put together the winning bag on Sunday. That'll be our first point of conversation. All right. So, and then when we finish that, why you look so perplexed?
I'm not perplexed. Just keep going.
Okay. And then after that, we're going to talk about, I don't know. Right about now is where you need to make it go black.